Yeah, so the Bears, they've now met the spending floor, by the way. So they no longer have to just sign people simply to spend money. But, you know, Ngakoue does represent probably the only viable NFL pass rusher on that team.
I would have rather Justin Houston.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting. Ngakoue is heading into year 8, and we've seen a little bit of decline in his production. He has never been a good run defender.
Right.
This is also very, very interesting. As I described the Justin Houston career arc, where it was like teams learned at his age, a little bit older, let's keep him fresh, let's make him a specialist. Yannick Ngakoue still gets trotted out there 250, 300 times a year against the run, where he's never graded above. He's never even graded in the 60s.
He doesn't try.
He's graded in the 40s. And this goes back to Maryland. He's always been this guy.
Yeah, I don't know how much of Zach Cunningham's one-dimensional style of run defense at the expense of everything else is intentional, and how much of that's just the way he plays the game. But Ngakoue is the classic example of a pass rusher that sells out for the pass rush all the time. Like, he's just not interested in defending the run. Now, at some point, you sort of wonder, is that instruction, or is that like an NFL team saying, for the love of God, would you think about the run once in a while and then go to the pass rush, as opposed to every snap bombing upfield and hoping it's not a run play. But yeah, he is a classic one-dimensional pass rushing guy who hasn't actually been that productive as a pass rusher for a while now, but still at least represents that kind of juice on the edge, which this team didn't have otherwise.
So I would say I'm not a huge Ngakoue guy. He's apparently he had 12 sacks last year, nine and a half NFL sacks last year. We had him with 12 on 434 rushes, though. I mean, again, doesn't have a high win rate. His win rate was terrible, lowest of his career since his lower than even his rookie season, where he started a little bit slow. He had a couple 10-sack seasons in there. I'm not a huge Ngakoue guy, but if you use him as just a pass rusher, the other thing is he's a wide 9 type of rusher. He is a wide rusher. Right. He's not the type of guy you ever want, certainly not early downs, head up over a tight end. You don't want him. He's not a guy that moves around and, kicks in against the guard. He is a pure edge. So if you use him as a pure edge and a pass rusher, he shouldn't play against the run more than 100 times, just like Justin Houston does. I think there's probably some production to get out of him there in Chicago.
So an interesting comp for him last year would be Josh Uche. Both guys had 12 sacks in the regular season, or sacked the quarterback 12 times in the regular season. Let's put it that way.
By our numbers.
Yes. So for anyone that is unfamiliar or hasn't listened for long enough, we have different sack numbers to the NFL because we believe that a half sack should count the same as a full sack. Essentially, the NFL does not award half sacks because they think it's half as good as a full one, right? You needed help, therefore you only get half credit. They award half sacks because they want the numbers to add up on a play. So it's not a qualitative distinction between how good your rush was. It's simply saying that 2 guys did it at the same time, so we're going to half the credit so that the numbers make sense at the end of the game. So at PFF, you get credit for a full sack even if somebody else arrived at the same time. And by the way, most of those sacks are of that variety. They're not of you actually needed the second guy rocking up to make this play stick.
Yeah, right? We try to make it like same time tackle, basically.
So essentially, we'll give you 12 sacks if you sack the quarterback 12 times. The NFL could give you any number based simply on how many times you split that with another guy. So Josh Uche and Yannick Ngakoue both sacked the quarterback 12 times last season. Yannick Ngakoue's pass rushing grade was 57. Josh Uche's was 88. Josh Uche had, 12 more total pressures over that period of time and did it on 150 fewer pass rushing snaps. He also only played 47 snaps against the run in the season. So the Patriots were very good at isolating him as, you are a pass rushing situational specialist, only you will never play the run if we can possibly help it. And then another guy I think that was interesting to kind of contrast that is Uchenna Nwosu for the Seahawks. Played 900 snaps, played against the run almost 400 snaps, was not like a situational guy at all, had 10 sacks, sacked the quarterback 10 times, but unlike Ngakoue, who only had 44 pressures, Nwosu had 61 on basically the same number of pass rushing snaps. So was significantly more productive as a pass rusher on a per snap basis, even if the sacks ended up broadly similar, and actually Ngakoue had more.
Yeah, so I'll say this. The Bears, the defensive line is going to be fascinating this year. They've brought in a lot of depth, some youth. You got guys like DeMarcus Walker was their biggest free agent signing. You bring in Ngakoue.
He's useful as well, by the way.
What's that?
Walker's useful.
Oh, yeah, he is useful. But it's going to be, can the Gervin Dexters and Zach Pickens of the world,
Right.
2 draft picks, can they develop? Dominique Robinson, who showed flashes early last year and, kind of tapered off. There's not a lot of historic production there in Chicago. Mm-hmm. But, we'll see how these guys develop there.